So let's get back to you and what we're doing today. So we're embracing our curiosity, which you're already here, you've done that. And then we're going to be asking some questions. And I put a little asterisk there because I'm going to be breaking throughout to let you ask some questions as we go. And I have a bit of a time on that so we can keep things moving. So if we get into a conversation and it gets a little off track and we need to keep moving on, I may facilitate that and cut off that conversation. Not because I don't want to have it, because I want to make sure we get through everything and get out of here on time today. So just a little housekeeping on that, but I do encourage you to ask the questions because that's how we learn. And I have no doubt, just listening to conversations beforehand, that you'll have some questions, which is great. I'm not going to be able to teach you everything today because it's a huge subject, which is why AI Portland exists, to bring in people to talk about all these pieces of generative AI and AI in general. But what we're going to be talking here is a framework to help you really think through AI and understand it in the context of the workplace so that way you can continue the conversations later. We're going to be talking about how generative AI works, how it's applied in the workplace, and then what is the impact of generative AI. So what's the impact on our careers, our organizations? And when I do this kind of stuff, the thing that I love most is focusing on the impact. In fact, if anyone can walk out, if you walk out of it, the thing that I think matters most is really thinking through the impacts. It's really easy to just think about hype. Oh, this is a really cool tool, but what's the impact of that tool, right? So my mission is to get people thinking about impact. Come on, there we go. So let's talk about how generative AI works. Now, asterisks, I'm not going to tell you everything. We're going to go through a brief vocab list so we get everyone on the same page. And some of you I've seen kind of the background because I took in some information when you registered. So I know that some of you actually have been practitioners before. I'd like to do this to get everyone on the same page because after a year of working on building generative AI products, I have learned that people bring a lot of assumptions to the table when it comes to this technology, right? It's because we're all learning. We're all learning at different paces, from different perspectives. And so we do a quick once-over to make sure we all understand kind of the basics of this technology. Just to start off, generative AI is part of a broader group of AI. Now I say AI, you may hear the term machine learning. That's another way that people refer to it. There's a debate on how we should call this. I'm just calling it AI tonight to make it simple. And the thing that stands out about generative AI is the fact that we can create with it images, text, code, videos, audio, music, and that's what makes it so powerful. Unlike other AI, which is focused on categorizing or predicting, generative AI creates coherent outputs. So the things that we recognize as human, although it's definitely not. There we go. So just a quick once over, how to understand things. You are here. Most of you are consumers of generative AI products. Maybe a smattering you might build them. But to fully understand generative AI, we need to understand three things: data, training, and models. Quick 1 minute overview of each. And there is no test, okay? I promise German free, I just have to get this out of the way. What's a model? I refer to a model consistently. In fact, in the news, you'll hear a lot of people talking about models. Models are like a set of instructions that the computer follows to solve a particular problem. Generative AI models learn to look for patterns and relationships in data to generate that new content. You may have heard of some of these models' names. So if you think about ChatGPT, one of the key words in there is GPT. That's actually the name of the model, right? And there's two kinds. There's 3.5 and 4. And again, you're not being tested on this, but if you're reading or hearing about it, that's what they're referring to as the model. If you're thinking about image generators, we have things like DALL-E and Midjourney, allow you to create images just based on your text's instructions. Large language models are a type of model that powers ChatGPT and other chatbots, and they're used for text generation. So it's probably one most people are familiar with, right? If you go into ChatGPT and you give it some instructions, you're going to get a text output. This is what they look like. Kind of unsexy, right? 74,000 of them here. This is on a platform called Hugging Face, where anyone can access some of these models. We move on. That is a model. Now you can tell everyone I've seen a model. Come on, there we go. Data is a big deal. We talk so much about models. Really what we should be focusing on data. Data is information we give a model to help it understand the task. Think of it as food for AI models. In fact, this is what influences so much of these products is the data. Now, this is, we're gonna be here all night clicking. Okay, here's an example of data. So this is actually from an article, I believe it's from The Guardian, and this was a breakdown of the websites that ChatGPT was trained on. So the GPT model, and you can see here some of them. But what I really liked was kind of this breakdown. When you think of Wikipedia, think about So that's the data. We tend to think of, what do you tell okay. We tend to think of data as, go back, as these words that go into it, but really this is what it looks like. Right? You don't have to memorize this. This is what it looks like when we give it to a model. So not words, representations, statistical representations. Training. You'll see this word a lot, especially in headlines. Training involves showing the model many examples so it can learn to make decisions or predictions on its own. In generative models are trained on massive amounts of data. So what I showed you before, and then some. They're data hungry, these models, and that's what sets them apart. And this is the visual that I have for you. I think it's entirely appropriate for thinking about how we train models. Now, that gives you kind of the idea of what's happening, but this paints the picture. Incredibly data hungry. Up there you see that they released an image generator, so your ability to just create images. They were trained off of our Instagram and Facebook photos. That feels good, that's okay. If you don't feel anything, also okay. All feelings are accepted now.